Welcome. All right, it is the top of the hour, so we will get started. We've got a lot of people here live and a lot more who asked for the replay. So welcome to you, whichever way you are watching. I'm excited that you're here. So today we're going to focus on earn more, work less formula for your independent consulting business. And I'm going to walk you through this formula today, and I'm excited to have you here. And as you have questions, you can pop those into the Q&A box and I will get to those at the end. All right. So with that, I want to just make sure you're in the right place. You're in the right place if you're committed to your independent consulting business, but you're not consistently hitting those income or lifestyle goals or both. So you might be working a lot and making a lot, but not having the time off, or you might not be making as much as you want and not having the time off, or both, or those permutations, right? And so I want to walk you through a process today, even if you think you're not good at sales or marketing, which I've definitely been in that bucket before too, for a very long time. And also if you don't think you have time to do both business development and delivery. I want to show you today how that's not true for you. All right, so that is what we're going to be focusing on today. And at a high level, I'm here to show you how to set up your business plan so that you can earn more while working less in your consulting business. It's possible to have both of those things. You don't have to choose one over the other. So specifically today's agenda, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I hate those presentations where people talk about themselves for, the first 10 minutes. That's not happening. I will tell you a little bit about myself in case we haven't met yet, or you haven't heard all of a good chunk of my story. I'm going to share a tiny bit of that. And then because it's relevant to you, and then, we'll dive into the 3-part formula to help you earn more while working less. So I'll tell you what those 3 parts are. We'll talk about them in detail, some examples, obstacles that you'll want to avoid, and then steps to implement this in your business. And as I mentioned, I'm excited to answer any of your questions. So put those in the Q&A box, and I will look for them when we hit the end of the presentation today. All right. Or the masterclass. All right, so why are we even talking about this topic? Earn more and work less. What I see so much in working with independent consultants and talking to to so many of you during the course of my week is that it seems to be a choice that so many of us think we have to make. I either need to work a lot in order to make more money, or if I want to scale back, I'm going to leave money on the table. And we create this feast or famine cycle for ourselves as a result of that. And either making money and trying to sock it away, or accepting roles and settling for them because you haven't had time to focus on your business development side of the house. And create this dynamic in your consulting business, which is not the reason why you created your business in the first place. I'm going to guess that you created your business in the first place for several reasons. Number one, to make the kind of impact that you want to be making with the types of clients you want to be making it with, and having more control over what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in your work, that you didn't have that control in your corporate life. While at the same time making more money than you made in corporate. Why should you have to settle for less? You were probably under earning in corporate as well, like so many of us are. And the third reason is to have flexibility, to have ownership over your own schedule, to have your ability to take off on a Friday if you want, to not have to request vacation and all of those, or play this game of unlimited vacation. And how does that even work optically, right? In the corporate world. So that's why we're talking about this today, because I see such a trend about other consultants having to feel like they're choosing between working, how much work they're doing and how much time they have off, and how do you create a business model that allows you to have both of those. So if you can relate to any of that, what I want to share with you today is this formula to help you get out of that feast or famine, that roller coaster cycle, and really truly hone in on the business model that gets you both. increasing revenues, and more flexibility as you go. All right. So with that, again, I'm not going to belabor any of this. In case we haven't met yet, I am Melissa Lieberman. I am an award-winning consultant and coach. I've been doing this for the last, I lost track of time, 9 years, almost 9.5 years. I've been a consultant on my own and coach on my own. I left corporate America in 2012, to be specific. And at that time, I was a corporate executive. I built a SaaS company, helped build a SaaS company with a team. And my responsibility within that organization was the consulting practice. And so in that role, I also bought a lot of services, including consulting. So I've been on both sides of those equations, selling and buying. And I'm an Accenture alumni, as well as I have a podcast. If you haven't read it yet, or listen to it, not read it, listen to it yet. Grow Your Independent Consulting Business. So that's who I am. A little bit so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. Now, a little bit about my story, and then I'll tell you in the next slide why it's relevant to you. I did start out in corporate, as I just described. I won a lot of awards. It was like my entire identity wrapped around the success that I had there in my corner office. In 2012, I became an accidental entrepreneur. We moved to Hawaii. I couldn't, at that time, manage a team that far remotely. And so I resigned and became this accidental entrepreneur. I just put that picture of Hawaii in there. That's our favorite spot to go on vacation when we lived there. And then, so over time, I realized that I was actually a business owner, that I wasn't just a consultant with an LLC that would take business when it came to me, that I actually own a business. And that's when I started figuring out that I've got to step into the CEO role, the COO role, all the C roles in my business, in addition to being the consultant and coach. And so that's the journey that I've taken over the last 9 years. It's taken me longer probably to realize this last part, up until probably the last 4 or 5 years, then hopefully it has taken you or will take you. So that is my story in a nutshell. And so the question is, how does this apply to you? How this applies to you and today's formula that we're going to go over is that basically what I see so often happening is that other independent consultants like you, and you may relate to this, are either not aware of, like I literally wasn't even aware of, that I was all these C things in my business, or avoiding, if you are aware, of the skills that you've got to build as a business owner. The CEO skills, the CRO skills, the CMO skills, the COO skills, all of those skills in order to be successful and create a business and a business model that allows you to earn more and work less, that allows you to be a true consulting business owner versus a contractor who's working, as an extra pair of hands for your clients. So I want to really show you today with this formula how you can stop questioning whether or not you have the time to be a business owner, in addition to delivering what you deliver for your clients, and also whether or not you're cut out to sell and deliver the work. So many of you, and I had the same feeling early on, is I am not good at selling or marketing. That's just not who I am. And if you follow me at all, you may have heard me talk about even to the point of being called sales repellent by the CEO. Because I wanted to tell the truth. I wanted to go into sales calls and be truthful with the prospects, which I did. And he would call me the sales repellent. But I would gain the trust of those clients, right? Because they knew that I was telling the truth. They could tell that I wasn't embellishing or that kind of thing. So why I share that with you is to help you to see that it is possible for you to go from wherever you're at right now, whether it's sales repellent or something else, into the person who's a business owner who's able to market and sell yourself effectively to continue driving your business forward. You can develop these skills. And I know that for two reasons, because the skills that are required to succeed at marketing and sales are largely the skills that you need, that you use every day as a consultant. It's redirecting them and using the right mental model as you're doing it. And so that's what I want to share with you today, is how to leverage this formula so that you can start building up your side of your business as a business owner and get out of your own way. So let's dive into the 3-part formula to earn more and work less. And that is number 1, taking the lead on making more. And I use those words very purposefully. So we're going to dive into what that means, but taking the lead on making more. Number 2 is protecting your schedule. Number 3 is elevating yourself. So that is the 3-part formula. So we're going to dive into the details of that here. So the first one is, what does that mean to take the lead on making more? Most consultants are doing this when it comes to the revenue side of the business, this profit, the financial side of their business. And I would love for you to take a moment as I describe this to ask yourself where you might be doing this too. So the first thing so what I see most consultants doing is asking things like, how much can I make? How much will I make if I do that thing or take this approach? And I hope I can, whatever it is, fill in the blank, replace my salary, make more next year, land a more lucrative client, whatever it is. Those are the types of questions that I find most independent consultants asking themselves. What they miss asking is, and directly relates to you taking control, is, what is my goal? What would make hitting my goal inevitable? How do I align my goals to the value of what I'm selling? Those are much more powerful questions that you can leverage in your business than the other, that help you to take control of how much you're making, versus the more passive side of hoping. Hope is not a strategy, right? So let's just take a moment here. If you have a piece of paper, obviously, if you're driving, don't do this until later. You'll get the replay. So if you want to come back to any of this, you'll be able to. So if you have a piece of paper, write this down. Like, what is your goal? What is your revenue goal? What is your profit goal? Those are 2 important numbers to have. Let's just talk about revenue for a minute here. What is your revenue goal for 2021 or for the next 12 months? Do you know what it is? So with that, how are you going to get there, and how do you want to get there? For most of you, it's not just taking whatever project comes to you. Most of those projects are not good. That's the type of project that I got early on, right? It was former colleagues calling me, hey, Melissa, can you do some project management work? Yeah, I could do project management work. I could do that 10 years ago at the time, now 20, right? I could do that stuff in my sleep. Sure, I'll do that for you. But it wasn't work I wanted to do. And it certainly wasn't work that was reflective of the amount of expertise and value I could deliver to those clients. So I was under earning. It was easy. I was just taking the work as it came, but it wasn't getting me to where I wanted to be financially on this part of our equation, right? How do I earn more? So for you, think about this. How do you want to get there? Do you want to work on a series of smaller, maybe lower revenue driving projects? Like, for example, if your goal is 500K this year, in the next 12 months, do you want to be working on maybe 500K projects? So, or do you want to work on smaller, a little bit, smaller, a higher number of projects, a little bit lower value in terms of the price tag associated to them? What does that model want? What do you want it to look like for you? Well, a lot of times we never take this top-down approach. We always think about it bottom up. What am I getting, and how can I stack all these things on top of each other to come close to what my revenue goal is? So for you, what do you want your business to look like? You decide. You don't just take what comes to you or what you think is out there That's how you get to where you're at now, potentially, which is under earning or overworking or both. Some other things you can add on top of this, on top of the project work, are retainers or toolkits and assessments and strategy documents. What do you want that full ecosystem to look like for yourself that you would enjoy delivering? So once you've really got a picture of that, I just obviously gave you some examples here, then thoughts are going to come up, right? Well, and even on that slide I just shared with you, when you were able to look, see the numbers. I love that. I love this concept. But Melissa, right? I used to do this to my coach, right? Oh, but coach, this is impossible. So I say this in a little bit of jest to you because I do this too. But, right? But Melissa, it's not possible for me to sell those big projects. I'm sales repellent. Or, but Melissa, I would need to bring in a lot of subs to deliver the work, and I don't want to deal with that. Or, but Melissa, my clients wouldn't want this whatever business model. That's not going to sell in the marketplace. Or anything hourly feels too risky. I can't do it that way. Or I don't want to price myself out of the work. I can't put together packages like that. All of those things that your brain comes up with and offers you of reasons why a business model that you would come up with that meets your revenue goal and your profit goal aren't possible for you. These are so much noise that are going to keep you from reaching what your potential is in your business and exceeding that. So let me give you a couple of examples of this. The first is, and I'm going to give you some client examples, but I always redact the information because I don't want, I would never share any confidential information about a client. So let's just call this client Jane. Jane was in her business, was making less than she had in corporate, working more or the same 70 hours a week, roughly, and was burning out and just really questioning whether consulting was really for her or not. It was a really painful, work existence. She was kind of recreating her job that she had in corporate, but now she had to go out and hunt and then eat what she killed, as they say. It's kind of brutal, right? But that's the business model. And so through the work that we did together and applying this formula that I'm sharing with you today, she was able to transition into a really simple, lucrative offer, like one of those, flavor of one of those examples that I shared with you earlier, and was able to really create these quick hit, high value projects that delivered a ROI for the client, where they weren't like questioning how much am I paying for her per hour. It wasn't the question. The question was, how much value am I what the value, I see the ROI in this. Like, it makes perfect sense to pay Jane this amount of money because of it. It has nothing to do with how many hours she's spending. And she also was able to reset the expectations with herself and her boundaries and create a balanced way that she could deliver, do three things: deliver the work, continue working on her business so that she was maintaining her pipeline and her close process, her sales process, and having personal time on top of it. So ultimately, through applying this 3-part formula, she was able to she sold around 11, roughly 20K consulting engagements that ended her year at 220K. And she delivered most of this on her own. She had a VA that was helping her, but her profit margin was really high before taxes because, she was doing the work. It was quick hit. She was able to have that schedule flexibility. So John, I'll give you a different example. John, he was doing really well on more of the business development front, landing projects and feeling solid in his business development processes, but he was struggling to deliver against them. He was bringing in so much work, struggling to deliver against them, bringing in subs who kind of last minute, who weren't reliable or up to par. And so then he would have to dive in and do the work for them and pay them at the same time. And so he was losing money or breaking even at best, and also sleep through this whole process. It was not a sustainable or profitable business model that he had. And so we worked together to simplify the work that he was selling, and really to take a step back and see why he was selling what he was selling. And he realized that he was selling this type of work because it made him feel successful at sales. It's like a drug almost. Once as you start getting good at it, it's like, oh, I want to do more of that. When in fact, he wasn't actually selling something that was beneficial to him or his business. And so we did some work to shift his service offerings, like I just shared with you in this first part of the formula, so that he could make it easier to deliver. And for him, he chose to do it by himself. He didn't want that kind of bevy of subs. There's nothing wrong with the subs. For him, he just didn't want that overhead. If you choose to have a business model with subs, that's you choosing it versus this model that he had was it creating itself creating for him almost. So at the end of this, he sold 4 engagements. They were roughly 83-ish K each. And he could deliver those in 10 weeks on his own. And his profit margin went up. He hit his income goals, and he didn't have to manage those people to get there. Honestly, I don't know about you, but one of the reasons I left corporate is I loved my team. I loved mentoring them and coaching them. And that's why I still do what I do. But I didn't want all that overhead of hiring and firing and capacity management and all those things. So recreating that in your consulting business might not be the path you want to take either. Like John, for some of us it is, but for most of us it isn't. Okay, so what do you take away? What can we take away from this first part of the formula to make more? The truth of the matter is, it's not the but Melissa's, it's that you can charge premium rates for the value that your clients gain. When you take a step back and do the math, align your service offerings to your goals, and then position yourself as the go-to expert who delivers that value. You're not selling your time, you're selling your value and the results, and that you actually believe it. That you believe that you have the ability to deliver that, because usually the missing part of this equation is that you actually do have the capability to deliver, but you negate or discount yourself. So that's a really important part of this equation as well. So that is the first part of the 3-part formula: how to make more. Do the math, take control of your process. Look at it from the top down instead of the bottom up. Ask yourself those questions that I gave you on the right-hand side, not the ones on the left-hand side. Align your service offerings to what that math looks like in your goals, and then go out and sell that. Okay, so that's the first part of the formula. The second part of the formula is to protect your schedule. Remember, earn more, work less. This is the work less part of the equation. So what I see most consultants doing are asking themselves these questions. Will I ever be able to take time off? Should I leave money on the table to go on vacation? Will the client allow fill in the blank? Me to take Friday off, me to work half a day on Friday, me to do blah, 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 whatever it is with your schedule, me to decline a meeting. Will the client allow that? These are not questions that you want to be asking yourself if you want to have a business where you're making more and working less. The shift here is asking yourself questions and figuring out the answers to things like, what are my working standards? You, again, taking control, not ceding control to the client. You deciding how you can set expectations with your client earlier and often so they understand the rules of engagement. So you understand the rules of engagement, so they understand the rules of engagement, and you have a baseline upon which to enforce those rules of engagement. Ask yourself, where are you caving in versus living up to your own boundaries? Where's your answer always yes? You don't even pause to wonder, like, could I say no? It's always yes. Believe me, I am telling you, this is rampant. I work with all levels of consultants. I work with corporate executives. All of us are doing this, thinking because we've been trained for so long, the customer is always right. I should do this. I should always be responsive. I should in order to maintain my credibility and to be the go-to person, I should always respond to what they're asking for. That is not going to get you where you want to go. Personally, it's not going to get the client what they need, because you're just fulfilling every command versus really taking a step back and figuring out, okay, they asked me for this, but actually that's just perpetuating this problem, or I could get them to where they want to go with an alternate solution, or they're going to have to wait for that, whatever it is. I'm not going to keep diluting things and putting what the really high value work at risk because I keep diluting myself. You know all of this stuff. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You've been a professional for a long time, I'm assuming, if you're here. The difference here is you believing that these techniques are possible and leveraging them versus using your default patterns, which for most of us are doing whatever the client asks. And we'll set the boundary next time. This time I'm going to do it. I'll set the boundary next time. I'll tell the client no next time. I'll redirect the client next time. And then next time never comes, right? It's like a bad diet. Okay, that's what this part of the formula looks like. If you're doing this, I belabored this, but you're getting stuck accepting that status quo, right? Your perceived limitations about how you deliver and what the client wants from you and what the client thinks is valuable. And all of the but Melissas in this case are, I've already touched on a lot of these, right? My client expects this, Melissa. I can't figure out how I want to deliver and what the rules are. My clients are demanding. I have to be responsive. The executive sponsor is really important and he always gets his way. I can't change now. I'm in the middle of a project. All of these things, or I'm charging a lot. I better be really responsive to make it seem like I'm worth it. All of these things are going to keep you stuck where you are, working too much, working more than you planned to when you started this job, not having that flexibility and balance that you wanted to have. So let me give you another example of this. So Sally was in this cycle you might be in, constantly prioritizing work over time off because she didn't want to leave money on the table. She couldn't figure out how to transition out of this without having a gap in income, either taking time off because she was billing hourly and losing out on the money, or feeling like she was going to have a gap in between projects as she tried to figure out how to sell a fixed fee type project instead of hourly. And so what we did is switched her structure from hourly to fixed fee and raised her rates at the same time. And she was working on an existing client, and she approached them and said, this is when we finish this kind of milestone, this phase, this is the new model that I operate under going forward. And that client said no. She could have just quickly returned back to the old way of doing business, right? But she knew that she was committed to this new model. And so she pivoted to another business unit within the same client and they said yes. They said yes to all of it. The fixed fee, the rules of engagement, the rates that she was charging, not a problem. But it took that courage to go out and say, you know what, this is my operating model. This is my business model and my operating model. And this is what I'm going to do moving forward. So she was able to transition from working roughly 50-hour weeks to make a little over 200K into working around 28 hours a week for 225K. And that was, through that, right? She created the time for herself so she could balance delivery with her business owning activities with her personal life and carve out that business model that she really had wanted when she started this in the first place. So the truth of formula part number 2 of the formula is that you can protect your schedule. And I said 85 to 90% of the time, there are going to be exceptions. You might take a last minute meeting on a day that you weren't planning to work. If you decided to take every Friday off, maybe occasionally you take a Friday meeting, but it's a lot better than 10% of your time, right? 10 or 15%, where most consultants are starting out. They're not protecting their schedule at all. Maybe a little bit. We can completely switch that pendulum over so that you are in control of your schedule most of the time. It's the exception, not the rule. And you do this by knowing exactly how and when you're going to deliver the work. You know exactly why it's a benefit to both you and to the client. And you're willing to set those expectations early and often and enforce them, follow them. It's going to feel bad. It feels bad for most of us to say no. We want to be helpful. We want to help the client. We want to make this project successful. We are doing it at our own expense, and usually at the expense of the overall project, when we're constantly saying yes, like death by 1,000 nicks. So no, if I were to just bottom line this, no more people pleasing. So now let's talk about part number 3, third part of the make more, work less formula, and that is to elevate yourself. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about knowing that you are a business owner, knowing that you are all the C's in your business, and approaching the way that you're setting up and structuring your business from that perspective versus the perspective of I'm a consultant with an LLC. That's where most people are, that if I were to categorize, that's where most of us are fitting into right now. I'm a consultant with an LLC who has to, sell some business when I'm forced to. That's not where we want you to be in order for you to get to the place where you've got this like repeatable engine running, where you're earning more, your business is growing, and you're not having to, and you're scaling at the same time, where your time is protected. So the way that I see this is most consultants aren't seeing themselves in what I call the right way. Like I was just saying, you're thinking of yourselves as a consultant or a doer. I sometimes I refer to myself this way, like, oh, by trade, I'm a project manager, right? Where do we start out? What is our core skill set? No, you are a business owner and a CEO. Your job, because you own a business, your job is to market and sell what you do. That isn't a pastime. That isn't I'll fit it in when I can. That isn't I hope that this works out for me. You own a business, and assuming you want to keep the business, you are the CEO. You are the chief sales officer. You are the chief marketing officer. It is your responsibility to drive revenue in your business. Otherwise, if you had shareholders, they would push you out, right? You are not a consultant with an LLC. That's backwards. You are a business owner who also is an employee of your business who delivers the work. It's like 2 different hats. You own the business, and then you pay yourself as your only employee or one of your only employees to do the work. 2 completely different things. Most consultants fall into the trap of just being the employee because that's what we're used to, and completely overlooking, neglecting, and avoiding the fact that you are the CEO. You are the business owner. That's the first and foremost. You wouldn't have work if you don't focus on that. There's no one to employ yourself if you don't have the business, right? So result, if you're thinking about yourself as the doer and the consultant, is that you're prioritizing client delivery and you're neglecting your business. This, by the way, I was looking for these hamster wheel pictures while I was prepping these slides. There were some really creepy hamster wheel pictures out there. I'll just leave it at that. This one's not too bad. So, but Melissa, right? Oh, but Melissa, I don't know how to juggle both business development and client delivery. I don't have time. So busy right now. I'll figure that out later. It's again like the bad diet. You tell yourself that you're going to start dieting on Monday, but you never do. It's the same thing. You have to figure out how to juggle both client business development and client delivery. And some of it goes back to the first parts of the formula, right? How do you set up your business model in a way where you're not being forced to work 50, 60 hours a week to generate revenue, and create a business model where you do create the space for yourself to work on your business? But let's say you were kind of in that same boat as that last example I gave you, where you were working on a project. You've got to figure out how to switch out the plane while it's flying. The other thing I hear a lot is, oh, I don't know how to market or sell myself. I don't like it. I'm really good at selling things, but not myself. As a quick aside, you aren't selling yourself. That's the wrong. If you're trying to sell yourself, that's a problem. You're selling outcomes. You're selling value. So take yourself out of the equation. That could solve that problem, part of the challenge, right? But getting back to the point here, the point being, like, so many of us in consulting roles think that we can't do both, that it's just not possible. And mathematically at the moment, it might be really hard for you because of the service offering that you're selling. So you've got to retool a lot of this to get yourself to the place where you want to be, working more. No, wrong thing. Making more, working less. So let me share another quick story to give you an example of this. So this was Jack. Jack was perpetually in this feast or famine cycle. He would sell his work and then go deliver it. And then he would always think like, oh, I just don't have time to maintain or grow my pipeline. I'll deal with that later. And then he would tell himself, oh, I've got plenty of time before this project ends, so I don't need to worry about it anyway, to make himself feel better. And then something would happen, the project would end early, or he just would keep kicking the can down the field and not realize he hadn't given himself enough runway to sell another project. And that's where the feast or famine cycle comes from, right? So then you end up settling for work that you don't want to do because you don't want to have a gap in revenue. That's what Jack was doing. So as we were working on this, we really worked on, first and foremost, him really sinking into the fact that he's a business owner. Like I've been talking about with this third part of the formula, right? That neglecting sales and marketing is not an option, even if you're working 70 hours a week to deliver to a client. So we figured out how to carve out 10 hours a week. It didn't start at 10, by the way. It started at 5, or maybe even less than that, half an hour a day. Carve out 10 hours a week and create a repeatable routine. It took some testing. It took some refining to figure out what is the equation for him in order to spend that 10 hours in the most impactful way to create a pipeline of clients who would pay for the value and results that he's able to deliver. And he made it non-negotiable when he worked up to that 10, as he was working up to that 10 hours. Knowing that he's a business owner first and foremost, he's a CEO first and foremost. And so he's able to move his pipeline from 0 leads to 10, sometimes more, sometimes an average of 10. And really have that equation for himself. How comforting, how reliable is it to know I know exactly what I need to do in order to ramp up my pipeline whenever I need to, and how many leads I need of what size in order to hit my close rates, in order to hit my revenue number. And he's been able to balance the C-level work alongside the delivery, the CRO work, the CMO work, the CEO work alongside delivery, so that he continues to fuel his business. So the truth of the third part of the formula is that stepping into and really owning the fact that you're a business owner, that you're responsible for all those C-level roles in your business is non-negotiable. And to be honest with you, most, as I've been describing to you, most independent consultants don't know how to do this. We're very, very good at delivering for our clients, even if sometimes you don't give yourself credit for that. You're really good at delivering for your clients. You are an expert. You do have a specialized skill set. That part is so great, amazing on the client delivery side of the equation. Now you've got to build up that muscle and the skills and the routines and the processes on the business owner side of the equation, and elevate yourself into that CEO role, into all the other C-level roles, and ultimately into the business owner that you are, and the way that you think about your business as a result of it. What you're thinking about every day, what you're prioritizing, how a successful business owner operates. You can do the other stuff, a lot of it probably in your sleep. It comes naturally to you. Like instinctually, you just know, you can identify a risk, weeks or months before it happens. It happens instinctually, right? You automatically know the strategy that you would recommend to a client. It comes instinctually. It comes instinctually because you've built up all of this muscle of client delivery for the last 10 or 20 years or 30 years. Doesn't come instinctually on the C-level side, on the business owner side, because you haven't been doing that. Maybe a little bit of it, but you probably haven't been a business owner. And if you have been a business owner for 5 or 10 years, it's not a problem. It just means that you probably haven't spent the amount of time and focus on that part of your business, that part of you, in order to feel like and operate like and think like the business owner that you are, and therefore get the results that you want. So the great news here, though, is that because most other independent consultants aren't doing this, or even realizing this is even radar on their radar screen, this can be your competitive advantage. This can be you knowing, like, okay, I've got to really step into a different frame of mind in order to be successful and operate more effectively than my counterparts. And guess what? We know there's a lot more counterparts coming, my friends, from the Great Resignation, right? You need these competitive advantages. You need the business model and the operating model that we talked about in the earn more part of the formula. You need the structure and the rules of engagement in that second part of the formula. I mean, how much more would your client trust you when you're saying to them, this is how we do business. This is how it becomes the most effective use of your time. This is how it becomes the most effective use of your budget, versus like responding to their every whim. And then thirdly, to stand out by being that CEO, owning that CEO, operating as that CEO, as that business owner, instead of as the consultant with an LLC who is annoyed by paying taxes every quarter. I'm annoyed too, but that's a different topic. So that's what we've covered today. I'm going to tell you how to do this next. So far we've covered the 3-part formula to make more while working less. We've talked about all those but Melissas, those common excuses that keep most independent consultants from having the lucrative business that they enjoy. And then ultimately the truth of what's possible if you implement each piece of that formula. So how do you implement this for you and your business? You probably heard this before. You can do one of two things. It's pretty straightforward, right? You can either implement the changes on your own, or you can make the changes leveraging an expert. And the irony of this, which I love, is you are the person that you usually recommend that the client does the work, that you outsource to, right? You're the one who's the subject matter expert. You're recommending to the client that they leverage the expert, that they take the path on the right, that they don't go do it on their own because that they're not the expert in whatever it is that you do. So that's the irony here, right? So let's talk about what it would look like if you were to get help implementing this. And I call it the Independent Consultant 90-Day Business Bootcamp. It's a one-on-one coaching program where I help you to upgrade your consulting business so that you can drive more profit, you can free up your time, and you can elevate yourself into the business owner that you are. And so how this works is essentially over those 90 days, we work on number one, getting clarity for you. What is that go-to-market plan? What is the service offering or offerings that you're going to offer to your clients? What is your marketing messaging? Like getting all of the clarity around that so you know exactly what it is that you're driving to, instead of you know, kind of back to the bottom or the top down versus the bottom up approach. And then the next phase is executing and implementing it. So we put it into place and we get the results, and we figure out what's working really well and what we want to amplify and what we want to revise and refine and tweak and adjust. And then we get you into a place where you've got an engine. You've got those repeatable processes that you can run in your business and are able to operate on site, you know, parallelize your business delivery with the business owner responsibilities that you've got alongside the personal time that you want to carve out. So all along those three chunks, we're implementing this make more, work less formula. So that's the structure of it. And at the end of those 90 days, the full and the outcome for you is that you have a very tailored 90-day plan. So it's no fluff. There's no extra assignments for you. It's really to you, exactly applied to your business and what will be needle movers for you. It's not the same for everyone. That's why I work one-on-one with people. You're going to have your aligned offer. So you know exactly how to intersect between your client's needs and your own financial and business and lifestyle goals. We're going to have your aligned marketing method. So you know exactly how to create and generate a pipeline, and it's a continuous one that you can refill that brings to you the types of clients you want to work with, and that clients that want you to someone like you to solve the problem that they have. And then you know what your sales process looks like. So you've got step by step of what that journey looks like, from the pipeline all the way to them starting off as a new client, and the expectation setting that goes along the way, and the techniques you can use to increase your close rate. And then the last four areas are having that business owner mindset and the tools that you will implement in order to gain that business owner mindset and make it that go-to kind of default way of thinking versus you being a consultant with an LLC. This process creates confidence for you and clarity, so you know exactly what you're doing and what you're not doing and how to protect those boundaries for yourself. And then the ultimate is that playbook. So you know exactly what those routines and processes are so that you can maintain the consistency and repeat what we've done over and over again as your business grows. So that's what the process looks like. I love giving shortcuts as we go through the process. So there are so many tools, but a few examples of them are your efficiencies checklist, so that you've got all of the tools and integrations and VA success factors to make a lot of the work that you will be doing automated. And starter routines, you've got those standard operating procedures that we can use to start from and then tweak for your business. I love handing out my access and introductions to my trusted partners so that you've got anything that you might need in terms of setting up your business infrastructure. And then finally, out of the box ideas for you to leverage so that you're thinking about easier ways to make money in your consulting business. We're not trying to build some really complex thing that's painful to operate here. So with that, who it works for are consultants who want to exceed their corporate income, consultants who want to have more flexibility in their business without sacrificing revenue, leaving money on the table, consultants who want to build a strong foundation to prepare to scale, and someone who's looking for personalized, targeted attention, not a course or something that you set aside and feel guilty not finishing, but a personalized, targeted attention where you've got an expert pair of eyes that is focused on you and your business. someone who is thinking about your business just as much as you are. So why it works is that this is really the formula that I've used in my own business and also leverage for my clients to help them double their revenue without working more. So this is the formula that I've used in those case studies that I shared with you earlier, and other clients who weren't in the case studies. So you might be thinking that you should figure out how to do this on your own, or you figured out everything in your career up to now. I used to think that all the time. So why shouldn't you be able to figure this out? And to be honest with you, I know you can figure it out. You might be able to take what I gave you today and figure it out. But I will tell you from experience, being someone who was very prideful and not asking for help or not thinking I needed help, it ends up just taking a lot longer and costing revenue and family time, personal time, doing it that way. So I would love to help you stop second guessing whether you're cut out for this, or doubting whether you'll ever learn how to effectively be the business owner or the CRO or the CMO, and really stop questioning whether or not you running a business on your own is worthwhile, is something you can succeed at in the long run. So I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions here. So I'll just finish out this and then add your questions into the Q&A box as we go here. But I just want to let you know that I've been there. I started out as that sales repellent, right? I didn't think I could sell myself either. I didn't think that I'd be able to figure out how to balance the time needed. And I was letting my business happen to me too. So I want to help you to get out of that rut and be able to figure out how to create that stream of clients that you can't wait to work with, where you've got the time to work both on your business and in your business and have your personal life all at the same time without sacrificing anything, and skip over those common mistakes that I've made personally, and I see so many other consultants making as well. So if this is of interest to you at all and getting help in applying this formula to your business, then go ahead and schedule time with me. It's called a revenue optimization call, melissalieberman.com/schedule. And on there, we'll dive in, we'll have a conversation. I am not a pushy person at all. So it's literally a conversation. We're going to talk about your business, what your challenges are, what your goals are, and figure out if it's a right fit for you joining this coaching program. And it may not be. Around 40% of the time, I give additional insights and help to the people who book a call and tell them they're not the right fit. The other 60% of the time, when I feel confident you're the right fit and that you're going to get results from what we're doing together, then I'll let you know and we can move, talk about what that would look like. So that's what happens on this call. If it turns out that we're a good fit working together, then we would start working together as early as the end of the month. So with that, hopefully that 3-part formula and the help that I offered you to implement it has been really valuable today. Let me dive into, in the last few minutes that we have here, let me dive into the Q&A and see what you got for me. So add them in here. Okay, this is a great question. What is the difference between a revenue goal and a profit goal? Revenue is the amount of money coming into your bank account, right? When your clients are paying you. So when the client pays an invoice, that is your revenue. The profit is how much money you're taking home from that. So this is something that a lot of consultants miss because we're so used to being in corporate where all of our expenses are paid and we're making a paycheck, right? As a business owner, there's a cost of doing business. And usually for consultants, a lot of times we sacrifice the time as our cost of doing business versus investing in things, like investing in a virtual assistant to do a lot of the administrative work so that you can free yourself up to put the business owner hat on, or investing in yourself in a program like I just offered to you to help you accelerate your results. Or you might have, in a very simplistic example, you might have invested in a computer or software to help you do your work. So those are all of your expenses. And so you would take your revenue minus your expenses, and that's your profit. And so again, it's putting that CEO hat on, putting that business hat on, and running your business in a way that is like a business, not like I'm creating a paycheck for myself. I just happen to be self-employed. That's the nuance there. I mean, I have a bookkeeper who does all this stuff for me because this is not what I love doing, and I would very happily pay her to do this stuff on my behalf. And every month we meet and we go through all of the numbers and really look at revenue and profit margin and figure out, what the trajectory of the business is through those conversations. Hopefully that answers your question, Anonymous. This is amazing. You always deliver topics and information that is spot on for me. That's great, Lisa. I'm glad. Can we get a copy of the slides? Yes, I will send out the replay later this weekend, and I'll include the slides with it. Thanks for asking. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Great presentation. Can you tell us about your financial model? Marco, my financial model. I'll answer that question happily. So my financial model, let me answer that in two ways. When I was purely consulting, like you might be, my financial model at the beginning was hourly. That is where all of the problems occurred. Because, right, you could probably relate to this, when you're paid hourly, you're incentivized to work more, to hit a certain, to make enough money, and when the client asks you to work, then you work, right? So, I mean, I won't go into all the details about all the stories about all the crazy places I was working, just trying to juggle time that I should have been not working, on the hood of my car at sometimes. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much. I quickly learned that is not going to be a sustainable model for me because of the lifestyle goals that I have. I have 3 kids. They're ages 11 and younger. So at that time they were not even in elementary school. And I was trying to balance running a business, making money, and having flexibility for the kids, right? And so that hourly model was not aligned to what those goals were. So my financial model at the time was that I shifted into was a combination of retainer-based work. So it's fixed fee every month, repeatable work, and also really short projects that I could run that were high value to the clients, high ticket, as they call it, revenue generators for me. So examples of that would be like running software selection projects, doing methodology work for clients, and that kind of thing. So that was the financial model that I moved into when I was purely consulting. And now I am almost primarily all coaching, and so my revenue model is working one-on-one with clients who pay me to work with them. So again, it's very similar to a fixed fee type of engagement in that way as well. So hopefully that answers your question, Marco. Let's see, I don't see any other questions here, and we've hit the top of the hour. So I want to thank you again for hopping on to this masterclass today. I will send out the replay and the slides, and I hope to see you on my calendar if you are looking for help and to make these shortcuts for yourself and to get out of the cycle that you've been in with your business so that you can work less and make more. All right, take care, and we'll see you soon.